So I'm going to start by introducing our amazing panelists. Mariella Swickard, who is the Learn Director with Women Win, based in the Netherlands. And Sarah Massini, General Secretary at ENGSO, the European Grassroots Sports Organization. Sung-Sik Cho, who's a Senior Program Specialist from the International Center for Martial Arts and Youth Development. And we're also very pleased to welcome Elizabeta Tishenko, who's the head of the International Volleyball's newly formed foundation. So this afternoon's panel discussion and presentations are going to explore the strategies and policies that inform inclusive practices, identify the challenges to creating more inclusive sporting environments, sharing research, insights, personal experiences, and policy outcomes, and discuss how to consider intersectionality. And this is of particular interest to me as a practitioner and worker in the area of displacement and refugee issues, to develop inclusive design principles. And obviously, we're going to continue to look at the role of data and evidence. So, without further ado, I will hand over to Mariella.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I am here. I'm the Learn Director at Women Win, as Nick had said. I'm here to talk about a recent piece of research that we completed, which I think actually combines a little bit the research. I'm from an implementing organization, and we are able to combine sort of research and action sometimes at the same time. So I'll tell you a little bit about what that looks like. All right, let's see if this works for me. All right. So I'm happy to echo a lot of what's already been said today. So apologies if I'm repeating, but let's dive in. So Women Win, if you are not familiar with us, we are a global multidimensional women's fund guided by the vision of a future where every girl and woman, every girl and woman exercises their rights. About 5 years ago, we split our work into 3 what we call brands. And if you've been familiar with Women Win in our work for a long period of time, we now call what we originally did Girls. Girls is our brand that focuses on girls and women's rights to and through sport. In Girls, we have developed technical capacity and expertise in girl-centered program and resource design, grant making, including participatory grant making and shared governance models that are for organizations that are working at the intersection of the feminist movement and sport, which is a very niche but important place, and gender inclusion and safeguarding approaches, including learning journeys to empower sports organizations to become safer, inclusive, and equitable for girls and women. And so this research really sits in that final group of work. This research was developed by Women Win as a part of the Adidas Breaking Barriers project. The Breaking Barriers project engages nonprofit organizations across Europe who undertake capacity building, training, and mentorship exercises to improve gender equity within their organizations. And this is sort of where we're able to combine research and action together. So this is the 3rd research project that we've been able to undertake as part of the Breaking Barriers project. And the first 2, which are listed above, and I recommend that you look at because they're really in line, I think, and support a lot of the work that has been already talked about here, But what we've been able to do is actually train coaches to lead, for example, focus group discussions or interviews. So not only are they gathering research in their local grassroots communities, but also they're learning in a way that they don't often ask girls, what is your experience with coaches? Or what is your experience with, what are the barriers to get you to practice? So this current paper, unlike the last two, which focused on the grassroots level, this one in particular focused on the professional sports sector and organizations and sort of key stakeholders that can influence this space. So a little bit of a different focus, and so we're going to talk about that. All right, I don't think I'll have the time to go through all of I think I only have 6 more minutes. I'm looking at my timekeeper. Less, probably. So I'll just talk a little bit about our methodology. So we first created a list of gender progressive policies and practices that have an evidenced impact on achieving greater inclusion. We then talked to experts in academia. Some of them are here, I won't call you out. And also sport. And in our context, this was mostly football because of the sort of nature of professional sport in Europe and also access that we were able to get. And then we did a wider survey across 6 European countries. So that was Spain, the UK, France, Germany, Poland, and Sweden to sort of gauge more general attitudes of the public on inclusion and explore whether those their attitudes might have an impact on women's participation in sport. So I think we've talked a little bit about inclusion already, but I think the thing that I'll say is that while representation is easy to measure and you can create quotas around, inclusion is human-centric, relational, often hidden. It's a complex thing to study. But we also know that it's important, and actually in our survey on public perception, we found that 34% of the European public considers professional sports to be gender inclusive. Sorry, only 34%, let me repeat that. And we found that really varied across different countries. We found that in the UK, in Spain, and in Poland, and especially amongst the respondents that were millennials, so that's between 1981 and 1999, they were more likely to be able to be to report positive perceptions in this space. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but I'm gonna dive straight into action. So we're an implementing organization, which means that we really are building this research for the partners that we're working with and for ourselves in the curriculum and the different programs that we work. So I will just dive into what we call opportunities. So as you can see, we came up with 5 different opportunity areas that are really tangible, and that was really the goal here. So in the research, does that mean I have 2 left? Oh no, okay. Okay, good to know. So we came up, these were really, really tangible. So I'll share a QR code with the research at the end, but we really wanted to provide different organizations with examples. So different things that they could look at and tangibly say, okay, that football federation has decided to do this, this, and this, and that's how it's supporting them in their efforts here. And we do know, though, that the barriers that women face in sport are really related to the barriers they face in society. So we couldn't, we just need to acknowledge that as we're going into this because some of these are very broad. But the way that we organize this is that the opportunities on the left-hand side here are narrower in scope, so really aimed at large sports organizations, sports clubs and organizations, and those on the right are more for institutions, governing bodies, and media companies. All right. Acknowledging time, where I only have 1 more minute, I will fly through these. So just specifically, in all of our research, we've really talked about the need to address women and girls' unique needs in sport. And this really came up in our expert interviews, and we were able to group sort of these 2 different areas of work-life health management and performance related policies. In the second opportunity, obviously safeguarding is a huge issue. We didn't even dig into sort of the reporting issues within the sports organizations. But our expert informants emphasize the importance of gender-sensitive safeguarding and that the sports sector is typically self-regulating, and the degree to which formal safeguarding policies and practices have embedded across organizations in the sector is quite haphazard, and how that really hurts women in the professional sports space. I know I'm going as fast as I can. There's also a key opportunity area 3 is really around the lack of professionalization, is what we called it, in the sport space. So the social activities and networking events that are essential for career advancement are often men-dominated, and when hiring decisions are made, they're often informal or via personal networks, which really hurts women candidates. I think everyone probably knows the saying, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And that comes out really strongly across our research. While the European Parliament found recently that only about 15% of all sports coverage across Europe is given to women. That being said, as I mentioned before, in our research we found that our Spanish and British respondents, specifically millennials, perceived higher levels of gender inclusion. And I think it's a pretty clear tie to the sports events that have gone on and sports media that has happened in those countries in the last 4 years. So really interesting to tie those links. The last thing I will say is that equalizing investment, pay, and prize money emerged as a priority topic in interviews with our sectoral experts. And the general public agreed that 37% of women and 32% of men considered equal pay as the most impactful step toward creating an inclusive professional sports sector, while only 9% of sporting brand budgets are spent on women or women's sports. So I will hand it back over and look forward to continuing the conversation about how this research turns into practice. But if you're interested in reading the paper or visiting Women Wins Learning Playground, where we keep a lot of our resources and other research that we do, I really encourage you to visit. Thanks so much.
The microphone is mocking me. Okay, thank you, Mariella, for galloping through your presentation. Congratulations, that was fantastic. In the interest of time, we'll hand straight over to Sarah. If you have questions, please hold on to them and we'll create some space for questions after the first 3 presentations before we move into a bit more of an informal chat.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm the Secretary General of ENGSO. So this presentation is a bit about the work we are doing together with the other key organization in order to try to see what's the power of data, but even more, what's the role of monitoring in this story. So ENGSO is, very quickly, ENGSO is a European grassroots sport organization. We actually represent national Olympic Committee or Paralympic Committee or National Sport Confederation in over 33 countries in Europe, so not just focusing on EU. So you can go on alone. These are some of our values. The mission is really on grassroots, meaning that our main work is to represent the voice of the the organized voluntary-based grassroots sport toward the institution in Europe, and vice versa, to bring what is happening in you towards them in order to empower their action. And our values we have several values, but definitely equality is one of those. and we have several, 3 committees, main committees thematic. Equality within Sport Committee, EWS, is basically one of the key points we are working with and I'm representing here today with you. Now, ANGSO believes, and I think that this is a belief, a shared belief in this room, that sport is a human rights, meaning that for us, participating in sport is not just taking part in practice. Thank you very much. It's not just because I'm not a bit sick, so thank you, thank you very much. She knows it, and so. It's not just about participating in sport practice, but participating in sport means being able and having access to all the level of sports. So not just going and having fit and having sport practice, but also go to leadership, having same rights. And so we already discussed, you all discussed it already before during these things. But what we also believe is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. So especially we are looking at European region. All the countries have very different experience and very different understanding of what gender equality is. And so, and equality and diversity is. So the way how we can work together definitely cannot be the same. So in 2020, the European Commission published the first ever LGBTQI equality strategy 2020-2025. It's a general document. It's not just about sport, but of course sport belongs to that. And the same, and 2 years later, they published the Towards More Gender Equality in Sport, the high-level group on gender equality in sport. Sarah Townsend was one of them, is here with us, and helped draft these documents. Now, why I'm sharing with you these documents? Because policy are very important in order to give us the route, the path, let's say. But definitely we need to understand, after 2 years, after 4 years, what happened? They published this, what happened? And this is the question that we started to do together with our stakeholders. And we decided to join forces because we cannot do all the job alone. And so we engage with the Global Observatory, we engage with APAS and Enlarged Partner Agreement on Sport, Council of Europe, and the sport unit of the European Commission. The idea is, okay, let's try, not everyone has the same resources, but if we put all together the resources we have, we may be able to monitor and check what is happening, which is what's something that I heard already. Let's try to gather together and join forces. What we did, I don't know, what we did, okay. We actually started a survey in order to monitor the impact of this policy at national level and also meaning at grassroots level. What happened? So did the sport community change something after that? So we did, this targeting member states authority, international and national sport organization, and grassroots sport entity. 7 dimensions: participation, coaching, officiating, leadership, social and economic aspect of sport, media coverage, gender-based violence, and LGBTQI+ strategy. How? We started with survey. We realized that for all the organizations are not confident with this policy, survey is not fine because they cannot really answer the questions. So also we started interview and focus groups. Outcomes, which is what's more important. So we started some of the interviews. So now we didn't finish the collection of good of the data, but we started with the interviews. So what I'm giving you here is an allied of the interviews and the focus groups outcomes. So actually what happened is that we realized that, first of all, good, thanks. First of all, not everyone is familiar with the content of this publication. And even sometimes if they know that this policy are existing, they don't really know the content, what's the implementation, what it's inside. But in any case, basically, when we start talking about gender equality, when they start out talking about how to engage and involve diversity and in the sport, in their federation, in their activity, they really, they really focus on participation in practice. So everyone is really much more engaged and involved in working in this participation. So yeah, we started to have 70-30, 50-50, 60-40, as this is really the point of the inclusion and full participation into the sport dimension. So they agreed, generally speaking, with the main areas that are underlined into the documents, but they are very much focusing on these activities. And then I have few key points for each areas. So for instance, for participation, there is a big diversity in plan, campaigns, and program. But some countries, they are still saying that the reason why the women are not participating, for instance, is because the sport they are dealing with is not interesting for them. It's too managed, it's too oriented to the interest of men. That's the reason why they don't take part in. So we're still having this narrative around. Then there is this coach and officiating, which is very more important part. So what is super helpful is if you start planning mentoring program, supporting program for coaches, for women coaches, and for women officiating. So not just training, but also, monitoring program. But the change in progress on activity and schedule, it's helping them a lot. So what they realize is that the normal schedule, so Saturday, Sunday, it's not really helping a lot of women taking part. Leadership, in some cases, quotas started to change, support, I'm not going to everything because you can read it. The point here is that we see still, you can read it. So the point here is that some of the things we read in here are quite obvious. We know them already. But the problem is that if after all this program, as it was said before this morning, if we knew all of this, and after all many programs, we're still having some of this, maybe we made some mistake in the approach we're having. So we should change our approach together. So we should make some adjustment. And that's basically, and some of the challenges we have. So the persistent cultural stereotypes and biases, limited funding and resources, all these things I think you already heard a lot of times in many, many situations. So if after so many years of programs, activities, training, and etc., we're still talking about these things, is maybe because together we need to find a different shift. And that's basically the strategy that together with the Global Observatory and the other partners, the Sport Unit and EPAS, we're trying to go and to take. So we are going to look at the fundings, compare also to the outcome of Olivia's presentation of this morning, the data of the Olymplus program. The idea is to stay together, gather other expertise, other stakeholders, and analyze this data, compare, and then say, okay, what we can concretely do. And then in this way, support the decision maker, because it's not really enough to say we are publishing policy, guidelines, and etc. We definitely need to provide them some supporting understanding how they can help their federation, their NOCs, their clubs in making the changes, in shifting this cultural dimension that was mentioned in all the session today. So that's a bit the small hint of what we're working on. And closing. If you would like to join our work, we are very happy, because again, it's not just us doing that. We really need to work all together. So please, first of all, if you want to take part in the survey, or if you want to share the survey, that's fantastic. If not, you can also join the activities and the work. So contact us, and we'll be very happy to welcome you in our group and move forward to try to monitor, and thanks to the monitoring, change the action we're doing at grassroots and the sport movement at large.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks. Over to you. Do you want the mic, or do you want
Good afternoon. First of all, thank you very much, Gio, Lombe, Haley, for inviting ICM. ICM is my name of my center. And look at the pictures like 4 years ago, and a lot of people ask me, is it real me? But I was okay during the COVID time, and now this 4 year passed and working back in the office now, I got older. And actually, I'm very sure that I was the first submitter of the presentation, and the instruction said only 5 pages. So I made only 5 pages, and I came up here today, and I learned that probably I'm the one with the shortest amount of presentation. But let me try to cover 8 minutes, and I'm feeling very thankful for my session mates over there because they spend more than 8 minutes, which is given. So I feel less burdensome. Let me start. Okay, towards inclusive martial arts, and actually, I think I have to introduce my center to you. It's already page 1, and then I'm going to page 2. The official name of my center is International Center of Martial Arts for Youth Development and Engagement under the auspices of UNESCO. So my center is a Category 2 center under UNESCO Sports, Nancy there. And my center is the first, so far, and only Category 2 center. And so as its name indicates, it's for youth development and engagement. And then these are the pictures of our program. The diverse program center has. We have a martial arts open school. We usually work with developing countries martial arts organization and opening a summer school for mostly targeting girls and women. And among participants, 68% this year, last year is girls and female. And we have some academic activities, seminar, and also the picture there is like last year, first time, ICM invited 15 African women martial arts leaders, instructors, and administrators to Korea, and then providing different programs. That's a picture from there. I'm sorry. And actually, when I was in contact with Geo, and then Geo has some suggestion that a particularly interesting program to Geo's goal and also the people over here, which I'm about to share. So this is an online course, online platform for inclusive martial education. And as you're all aware of, the term inclusive actually covers a wide range of like people. But this one more specifically targeting on the people with the physical disabilities. And actually, the initial project was initiated by Erasmus Plus and then done by UNESCO chair in Ireland, at the time IT Trolley. They changed the name to Munster Technological University. And ICM has been in contact with them in various settings before. And then 2020, ICM had a program called Martial Arts Young Researchers Initiative Program. And actually, we're inviting people. In 2020, as you noticed from my good-looking picture back there, the COVID boom. And all of the program that I wanted to invite people, all gone. And then we're looking for something which could help people to somehow overcome this impact of COVID, involuntary, sedentary lifestyle given to everybody. And then we found this, we knew this about this coaching guideline and all the books. And then ICM and IT Trolley contacted each other, and we decided to open an inclusive martial arts platform, online platform. So it has 7 units and total 146 slides. Being very frank, I think I read only 120, now all 146. And this is the program, and it has it covers diverse topics. What is martial arts, what is inclusion, and what coaching means, and what's the importance of coaches in the setting of any physical activities, including martial arts. And then COVID is somehow over, right? It's still here, but we are okay, relatively. So last year and this year, ICM opened a course called Inclusive Martial Arts Coaches Academy. It's a prototype, a pilot. So for 2 years, ICM invited a number of martial arts instructors and coaches in Korea this time. And actually, the numbers there actually covers the challenge that we'll cover later on in Q&A. And through this academy, actually it was a very good opportunity for ICM, not only for the coaches, because what kind of challenge and obstacles we have if we push to inclusive martial arts education, ICM, my organization itself, didn't have any clear idea. But when we try to recruit participants for this program, martial arts coaches, masters, they don't like word coaches, by the way. They like the word masters, headmasters. And the kind of challenges like somehow ICM and members of ICM could imagine, and somehow we could not imagine, all pops out. And that's the thing actually I would like to share after this, if we have a Q&A, hopefully. And I designed this 8-minute presentation to share you with little more of diversity, because martial arts is like, somehow it has sports element, but it's more narrowed down area than comparing to our general idea of sports. But at the same time, it has a certain element of like intersectionality, because it's somehow very male dominant too. And in that sense, I hope I can share the findings through this online course and then Martial Arts Coaches Academy during the question and answer time, hopefully given to me. And I wanted to make it 8 minutes sharp, and I hope I can make it. Somebody's very happy with that. So hope I can come back with microphone later while I'm sitting down there. Thank you.
So we've heard our three main speakers, and I'm going to pause at this point to see if we have any questions from the floor before we go into pre-prepared questions. So I'm opening it up if anybody has any questions to Mariella or Sarah on their research, or to Sung-Sik on his inclusive online program. Please go ahead. And if not, we'll go into the pre-prepared questions. Mariella said I should check and see if you're still awake. Does everybody want to stand up for a minute? Okay, come on, stand up. I'm not going to make you stand for the rest of the presentation, but maybe we can jump up and down for a minute just to get ourselves moving. I know, I'm sorry, it's pretty radical. I don't see much bobbing going on. Oh, that's it. I can see some bobbing now. That's better. Okay, I know that post-lunch slumber is kicking in. There was a lot of cheese in the lunch. I'm feeling it as well. Okay, thank you. Right, in which case I'm going to start with a couple of questions here, and let's see how we go. So as Sung-Sik was our last speaker, I'm going to go back to you straight away as your presentation is fresh in people's minds. What are the current challenges in promoting the idea of inclusive martial arts? And is there any specific hurdle existing according to different target groups that you've identified? Or is there any challenge or obstacle that exists within the nature of martial arts? And how did you overcome that, or how do you intend to overcome that?
I came back, yeah. So, yeah, I expect that I'm going to speak again, but I didn't expect in 5 minutes. But let me just go ahead. This inclusive martial arts, or martial arts in general, it could share some elements with other sports, but first thing is the perception and culture, because it has been and still somehow very male dominant. So it is very difficult to attract people. And also for the Inclusive Martial Arts Coaches Academy this year, we have only 25% of women instructors or coaches. And I checked the number of the practitioner in professional level, and then it's almost the same. So the martial arts which has the most reliable statistics in Korea is Taekwondo. And among professional level, 77% is male and 23% is female. So if we have like 25 percent of female coaches joining the program. I think it's quite successful in 2% margin, which is not big. And another thing I should say, not only in terms of the idea, the martial arts, also nature of martial arts, it's less burdensome for the striking martial arts, but grappling martial arts, you need to have direct physical contact, either jiu-jitsu or judo, and it hinders some people to join either of the class with both sex practicing together, even in younger age in a specific culture. And another thing, just focusing on martial arts actually, the origin itself is the name of the art of war, which is meaningless after the guns and everything coming, but still, the idea is like, it's violent, it has elements of violence. Well, some of my friends in academia, they say it's a violent under consent, so it's different concept. But anyway, the idea of something violent is dominant. And it's not only for the certain group, but it's different country by country. I just want to make one example. There's a small country, a good country, Timor-Leste. Yeah. So Timor-Leste, they become independent from Indonesia as like early 21st century. And in Timor-Leste, until 2022, 2021, all the martial arts organizations, except some Olympic sports martial organization, all banned for more than 20 years. Why? Because around time of their independence, a lot of martial arts organizations turned into political mob and gangsters. They have become a part of in the center of this political violence, physical violence happening in the small island of Timor-Leste. And that perception is still ongoing, even though the ban is lifted. And my center wanted to have some program in Timor-Leste because it's one of the developing country with a bad economic situation. And we believe that it will be helpful to have that program in Timor-Leste. But it didn't work because the perception really matters. So in case of martial arts, this culture and perception is really key. Could be something depending on sex and other orientation. It could be something to other sports too, but in case of martial arts, that's even a higher hurdle than other types or other elements of sports.
Thank you, Sung-Sik. Okay, and maybe we'll move on to Sarah. So Sarah, you explained a little bit in your presentation why it's necessary to collect data, while you're doing your research. But maybe you could elaborate a little bit on why you went with the evidence and monitoring approach as opposed to focusing your efforts on the activities in the field to boost inclusion and participation.
Thank you very much. So actually, I will bring a very concrete example that it's coming out from the survey we're running. So, and I'm going to also make a reference to a country. So we received some answer from some Croatian federations. I mean, even though we know, and it's also the outcome of the answer, that they started an action plan for gender equality. They have started some program for leadership. They also started some action for coaching, having more women in coaching, etc. When it comes to challenges, why you don't have enough women, and etc., because we all have some open question, they actually answer because this sport is not yet so interesting for them. So this is not, so we are actually having this plan, but the reason why we don't have so many is because they're not interested. And the point is that 5 years ago, I think even a bit more, we had a program. We have a concrete program on coaching in Croatia for women. And the federation we were speaking to, they were saying this. So even though we started a program that was concrete in implementation, so training, engaging the project manager, engaging the director of federation and presidents and etc., even though they managed to start together with the EOC office, together with many other programs, concrete programs for gender equality, still some cultural biases, some cultural resistance is still there. This data, because it's a data, I mean it's a fact, is giving us the information on what should be done with priority in Croatia. So they, of course, are advancing a lot in many things, but maybe there is some things on the cultural level that we should focus and touch. And that's why it's so crucial to work on it. Because, yeah, it's a lot of work collecting data, and especially, going after people that don't want to answer. But after that, if we join forces, then we can, organize more precise intervention. Because this is not exactly the same needs that our friends from Norway or our colleagues from France, they need. They have very different needs. So even though the topic is the same, even though the challenges may be the same, the way how we should approach, the action that we should start is not the same. So that's why it's so crucial, and that's why I was saying, join us, because maybe we can together take and use the good practice you have, the good initiative that we also listened before, and adapt it or use it exactly where it's needed.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so Mariella, you were talking about, in your presentation, moving beyond numerical parity and representation. And I'm just wondering, are there real strategies that sporting federations and organizations can take on board? And is there something that the amateur and social-focused organizations can implement and learn from as well?
Yeah, thanks. I think we see that oftentimes the professional sport space is a role model for what happens at the grassroots level. And I think in my presentation and in the examples that are in the report, you see that we really believe that there are concrete actions that can be taken. And you also see sometimes that the grassroots level influences the professional sports space. But I think the way that we see the grassroots sports space is that you really, for a girl, you need to look at the scaffolding of her daily life. I think I'm going to say something that's a little controversial, but I'll lay it out there and see how you react. Is that we talked a lot about coaching and gender-informed coaching and how safeguarding policies and practices are imperative, but if we aren't taking a gender justice approach to a girl's life, then she's not even going to make it to the pitch. So how are we going to further think about and center girls in their lived experience to help them get there? And this is really, again, at the grassroots level. Because I think without that, then we are going to continue, not seeing progress in this space. And how can we align to get there? So there's some brilliant minds in this room, so maybe they can help think through that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, perfect. So we have little time left, and unless there's any burning questions from the floor, I'm going to introduce our final speaker again, who's been sitting patiently waiting to engage with everybody. So Elisabetta or Lisa, sorry, Lisa. Is the head of the Volleyball Foundation, the FIVB Volleyball Foundation, a former professional player herself, and she is going to share some examples from the world of volleyball with us on the work that they're doing around women and girls. So let me give you this microphone.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and to listen to all this insightful presentation. I didn't prepare any presentation. I just came from India. It was last-minute invitation, so, but I enjoyed immensely to listen to all this academic research, and I'm more practitioner. As Nick said, I'm a former professional volleyball player, elite. I took part in 3 Olympic Games. I have 2 silver medals, so I know about volleyball and professional sport a lot, and I could relate to all the presentation from, violence in sport, health, well-being, so all these topics, very, very familiar, and I can relate to that. But today I'm here in the capacity of executive director of the Volleyball Foundation. It's a newly established organization, so we've been literally established in May this year. It's a part of the big volleyball ecosystem, which consists of the FIVB, governing body, international federation, literally 100 meters away from here, Volleyball World, commercial arm, and now Volleyball Foundation. And a few words about volleyball itself. I don't know if all of you are familiar with the sport, but volleyball is one of the most popular sports in the world, and we estimate more than 800 million people playing volleyball, according to Nielsen research. I believe we have a larger number. It's because research was done only in 30 countries. And I think I'm also privileged, and I can absolutely confidently to say that volleyball is a very inclusive and gender equal sport. And it's part of our DNA, it's inherent to our sport. And there are many reasons for that. First of all, it's probably the non-contact nature of the sport. We are probably the only team sport, non-contact team sport. And it requires not just sheer physical power, but agility, teamwork, as I mentioned, strategy, and so on. And that's why probably the sport is very appealing to women. I've heard a few times, oh, maybe that's not the right sport that is interesting for women. Volleyball is enjoying a great popularity, and numbers speak for themselves. So when it comes to the global participation, 51% of participants are actually female. Volleyball is one of the most popular sports in the high schools in the US. So the latest number I've got, there is nearly 500,000 girls playing volleyball versus 100,000 male volleyball players in high school in the US. When it comes to the consumption, to demographics, the popularity of the sport, it's actually equal 50-50. It's again according to Nielsen research. Moreover, women's volleyball brings probably more commercial media marketing values than men's volleyball. Again, it's just pure numbers, and we know that in terms of viewership, Olympic Games, finals, or World Championship, major events, women's volleyball actually has a higher value than men's volleyball. Same goes for the professional leagues, prize money, and actually the highest paid player in the world is a female. So I don't know what else I can say, but I guess those numbers speak for themselves. So, and it proves that in my case, in volleyball is really a good fit for female participation, and that's why we believe that having this amazing reach, popularity, we should use volleyball as a tool, because we all here, I guess, because sport has this transformative power and we want to make changes and make this shift. So we want to use volleyball to improve the society, and that's actually our aspiration as a foundation. So we want to make a world, a greater world shaped by volleyball. And I think if you permit, probably that would be a right time to show a short video explaining the work of the foundation. And then I can continue.
We, the FIVB Volleyball Foundation, established in May 2024, mark a significant milestone in uniting the global volleyball community. At the core of the volleyball ecosystem lies the FIVB, International Volleyball Federation, the governing body and visionary founder of the foundation. Alongside it stands Volleyball World, the commercial arm of the FIVB, driving the sport's global growth. The Volleyball Foundation is a crucial addition to this ecosystem, committed to promoting mass participation, community engagement, and social impact through volleyball. It plays an essential role in extending the benefits of the sport to all. Together with the FIVB and Volleyball World, the foundation unites all aspects of the volleyball universe, paving the way for greater inclusivity. There are nearly 800 million volleyball fans worldwide. We strive to link this vast global network with the initiatives of the Volleyball Foundation, fostering a greater sense of belonging beyond just the direct beneficiaries of our projects. The Volleyball Foundation uses the global reach and power of volleyball to uplift communities worldwide through impactful projects. Contributing to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, we identify innovative initiatives from around the world and provide funding and resources to support projects that enhance the social well-being through volleyball. Volleyball serves as a powerful symbol for unity and collaboration, reflecting our society's core values. The act of serving in volleyball, both metaphorically in the sport and literally as a key element of the game, aligns with the idea of serving with purpose in society. The Volleyball Foundation will champion these values, contributing to a more collaborative and harmonious world. These values are reflected in our brand, showing the link between society and volleyball. Our vision is a greater world shaped by volleyball. Our mission is we connect, serve, and inspire global communities through volleyball to improve societies. Our mission reflects the three main approaches through which we will live our mission and strive toward our vision: hands-on projects to serve, collaboration to connect, and advocacy to inspire. But we can't do it alone. Donations and partnerships play a crucial role in ensuring consistent long-term funding for our projects. Experience the joy of giving back and inspiring hope by helping to fund projects that are making a meaningful difference worldwide. Get involved and take action with the Volleyball Foundation. Serve the world through volleyball. Join us as we embark on a journey to connect communities, inspire individuals, and transform lives through volleyball. Together, we can make a difference.
And don't worry, we're not expecting you to get your checkbooks out. You're quite safe for the moment. Elizabeth is just going to tell us a little bit about a program for women and girls in India that the Volleyball Foundation has been engaging in.
Well, another thing I didn't mention is that actually volleyball has different forms. You know, maybe people only know six-a-side, but there is also beach volleyball, snow volleyball, grass volleyball, sitting volleyball for disabled people. And again, it speaks about inclusivity and excessiveness of the sport. Speaking about, again, we've been just launched, however, we started with 2 pilot projects last year. One is in India, in Assam, and another in Kenya, but I would like to specifically highlight the project in India because I think it's incredibly inspiring story. Assam is a northeastern state in India, quite remote, not really developed, one can say, known for its tea industry. And one of the enthusiasts, former captain of the Indian national team, just decided to bring to his village 100 balls to engage kids into sport activities. And he didn't know that this would evolve into a massive grassroots league, which BVL, Brahmaputra Volleyball League. Brahmaputra is the name of the river in Assam. And, but again, it's a project not only aimed at girls, but it had an incredible impact on the lives of the girls. Again, we need to understand the context. We are in India, there are lots of, let's say, cultural barriers, taboos, if you want, and we're talking about really remote villages where people live very traditional and basic life. And basically, by introducing a grassroots volleyball league in this district, it made an incredible impact on the entire community. Just to give you a few examples, and then we can show also a very short video. The community didn't have lights. So in order to play, they needed to build a court, but they found a partner who could install the lights. But it completely changed the life of this community, because the parents wouldn't allow the girls to walk alone in the darkness after the sunset. However, when the lights were installed, the environment became safe. And in general, playing sport was not something common in this part of Indian world. So volleyball became such a uniting power, if you want, in this village. And we talked this morning about menstruation and period, and that's another big topic that was tackled there by actually men, and that's what I like about this story, because in order to progress, you need to disrupt things sometimes, and you need to break those barriers, you need to break these taboos, you need to start talking about these things. And they also realized that the girls who were practicing volleyball, and we are talking about under 12, under 14, when they're going through puberty period, they just stop appearing for some time. They wouldn't come to training, and then they realized the reason was that they got period, and they simply didn't know what to do. Nobody educated, nobody talked about that. And again, I keep reminding you, we're talking about villages without even, toilet facilities, without basics. And this guy, his name is Abhijit, he literally brought a box of sanitary pads and started to distributing them like that to the girls. And it was unheard of. All the elders started to complain, you can't do that, it's not right. However, it changed completely. Again, I'll shift the mindset of these people, I guess, but they accepted it, and it became a norm. And then later on, he brought an NGOs that helped to organize seminars, educate the girls on that. They even called it period power. And there are so many stories like that. Now they have another story. They don't know how to dispose those sanitary pads, so it's requires another educational kind of seminar. The same goes for the girls that are actually reaching certain age and they're getting married, but they would love to continue, for instance, playing volleyball. However, once they worn saris, they shouldn't wear shorts. So there was a solution found, and they run some courses, coaching courses, and those girls were able to become first female coaches in those villages, which again was something new. So what I'm trying to say, because I already see this signs that I have to stop, that through the power of sport, through volleyball, because in my case, it's like we are using sport, we are using volleyball to include, in this case, girls into sporting activities. We transform their life, literally transform their life. And I can tell many stories about other girls, but I don't have time. So unless we want to show a 30-second of video, no? No?
BVL also empowers women and girls through volleyball. Take Bornali from Degali Mathawoni village. Despite pressures to prioritize marriage over volleyball, she became the village's first female coach, inspiring others to challenge norms. The league also tackles taboo topics like girls' periods through education and the distribution of sanitary pads.
Okay. Okay, so that wraps up the panel. Thank you all for staying with us and for jumping up and down a little bit as well.